What is going on, everyone? Anthony Drew Gary here, host of The How To Show, where we talk about optimizing life, money, and happiness one how to at a time. This week we are going to talk about building credit as a young adult. And this may be important to you because, maybe you want to set yourself up for big things in the future. Maybe you want to buy a house quickly. Maybe you want to buy a car quickly. Maybe you just want to have access to as many options as you can, and getting your credit in such a position that you can do that is a good way to start. And so really, as a young adult, I'm talking like 18, 19 years old, really freshly into the adult phase. As an 18-year-old, you may even still be in high school, but basically the rules apply once you start adulthood, that you can start developing credit on your own. And realistically, there are two ways to do this. There's the tried and true tortoise and the hare kind of scenario we've got here, where we've got a tortoise option and we've got a hare option. And I would agree with the metaphor that I'm using here, that slow and steady does win the race, but I want to present both options so that you can compare them and contrast them for yourselves. So if we continue this metaphor, we'll go with the tortoise option, and this is basically to establish some credit and to use it regularly and pay it off regularly. And so this is something that I did when I was in high school. I had a part-time job, and so I had a very minuscule amount of income, but it was enough that, one of the vultures out there at Capital One gave me a credit card that basically had a really low limit. I think it was either $300 or $500 to start, and an interest rate of some 19% or whatever the number was. It was a really bad deal if you were to ever get in trouble with this, but if you were doing it in a conscious sort of way, it worked out just fine. And so what I did is I applied for a credit card as an 18-year-old. Dumb, stupid, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it worked out just fine because I made a rule for myself. And the only thing I was going to use that credit card for was to fill my gas tank with gas. And at the time, I was basically driving to school, driving to my part-time job, and having a little bit of a social life. We're talking, less than $100 a month in totality. And basically what I did is, as soon as I made that spend, I would log into the website and I would pay it off right away. And so basically it was using my credit card as a checking account and building payment history one month after the next, after the next, after the next. This grew a little bit when I left high school, went into college, where, instead of it just being gas, it was maybe more food and drink every once in a while when I was eating off campus or anything like that. But again, slow and steady to where it was time for me to start looking at housing options. I was 23 years old, and at that point I had 5 years worth of credit history, really just because I paid my gas on time from a credit card that I got when I was 18. And so the realistic situation that we're painting here is that you can acquire the type of debt that you're looking for with credit history, be it, you're trying to get a new car, you're trying to get a house, with a good income plus a credits history that's, a couple of years old. Basically what I'm saying here is at 23 years old, I had no problem getting a mortgage because I was doing nothing but paying my gas with a credit card over the last 5 years. So that would be the slow and steady method. Just do it a little bit over time, and you can get yourself to where you need to be. The hare version of this transaction is a little more complicated and involves somebody basically advocating for you. And so let's say you're in a scenario where your parents are willing to do this. They're in a good financial position. As a teenager, I don't even think you have to be 18 to do this. You can become an authorized user on someone else's credit card. And in doing so, you don't even necessarily have to use their credit card or have access to it, but because your name is tied to someone else's account, you're basically piggybacking on their credit history. And this is a way that you can fast forward through some of the process that I just talked about, but I do want to issue a word of caution against this, is because as good of a situation as this can be, it can also be a bad situation. Let's say that you get thrown on as an authorized user, and that loved one that took you under their wing, they lose their job, their life changes, there's some dramatic difference in what their life used to be versus what it is now. You could find yourself in a situation where your credit is negatively impacted by no fault of your own because of the circumstances you find yourself in. Now, you can probably get yourself removed as an authorized user if you can see the trajectory going downhill, but it's basically just a word of caution. To summarize this entire thought process, there are really only going to be a couple of times in your life where you need to be super worried about what your credit is. You know, you're going to borrow for big ticket purchases like homes, maybe cars, maybe different types of big purchases like that. And traditionally, if you are making your payments on time, you have good payment history, you're going to qualify for the best rates and terms on those different types of loans. So if I could be a recommender in different instances, I would go with the tortoise version rather than the hare. But again, want to make sure that you're educated in both directions. That's going to bring this episode of the show to a close. Hopefully this was useful to you. If it was not useful to you, let me know that in the comments and let me have an idea of a future topic on the show that you want to hear about. If you like this episode, you think somebody can get benefit from it, please share it with them and hit the plus button on the YouTube algorithm to know that this is a video worth watching. And again, if you got any future topics for the show, happy to talk through those. I'm going to have some fun things coming up in the next few weeks, up to and including brewing beer. So if you're a fan of that, you're going to like that episode for sure. In the Indianapolis market, if you are looking to buy or sell your home, get in touch with me either in the comments down below or at indiedwell.com. As always, you can check that out in the show notes too. You can find me on the podcast player of your choice if that is the way that you consume content the best. And as always, you can hit the subscribe button to be the first to know about new videos each and every time they come out. Until next time, this is Anthony Drew Gary, host of The How To Show, signing off.